Coming up on this edition of Cogeco News, the latest on COVID-19 and the price one might pay for violating the rules. Grocery stores remain busy, but things have changed. And the battalion hope change is a good thing whenever hockey resumes. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to this Monday edition of Cogeco News. I'm Greg Estabrooks. The province of Ontario knows it eventually has to open up the economy before a bad situation becomes a catastrophic one. On Monday, Premier Doug Ford spoke in general terms about that plan and trying to balance a return with obvious health concerns. Nipissing MPP and Economic Development Minister Vic Fedeli was a part of today's press briefing. Obviously, folks, that piece of tape was not ready at this point. A different kind of House of Commons sitting this week. MPs will be meeting virtually on 2 days this week, and then a special COVID-19 committee meeting will also be held. Nipissing-Temiskaming MP Anthony Rhoda will be busy, of course, as House Speaker. To talk about those issues, Rhoda joins us via Skype and also talks about the latest government assistance, this time to the business community.
Yeah, employees will get up to 75% of their wages, but what's more important is they'll keep their jobs going so that when the economy gets up and running, they will have a job to go back to. The other thing too is that the employers will have their employees in place so that when the economy starts picking up, they don't have to go out on a hiring spree. They already have their people who are experienced, ready to go and hit the road running, which will be good for the economy, good for the employee, and good for the employer.
Now, Anthony, the government has laid out millions and billions of dollars in aid to so many different groups, but there's not an endless supply of money. I have this specter in my mind of watching stories about the Depression and the very late 20s and 30s where people would have to take a wheelbarrow full of money to a store to buy a loaf of bread. You can't keep printing money forever, correct?
That is correct, and that's what we're looking at. I mean, the government is looking at to make sure that there are limits on what can happen. There's two ways of looking at it, really. When you look at the economy, can we afford to stop the economy and go into a full depression, or do we keep it on life support long enough so that once things starts picking up, then it can keep going? It's not an easy answer either way. But it's trying to minimize the suffering that Canadians are going through while keeping the economy on life support until it picks up again and gets well.
Now, Parliament has been adjourned until late May, but Parliament is still going on in different ways. Can you outline a little bit about this virtual meeting of, I'm assuming every riding will be meeting, or every representative of every riding will be meeting virtually. Is that what's going to happen?
Exactly. Actually, I'm in Ottawa right now. We just went through our first dry run this morning. We've got another one going on this afternoon. What happened is House is adjourned. The House of Commons is adjourned until the 25th of May, pending any changes. So what's happened in the meantime is parliamentarians have to be in Ottawa in order to make decisions and vote. But what they've done is they've asked the House and the Speaker, which is the position that I hold, to make some changes. So they've struck up a committee called the COVID-19 Committee, and it will be meeting on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And basically, it's a mirror of what goes on in Parliament. And we will have up to 338, which is all the MPs on the call and going through it. It will be done both through Zoom and through Skype.
Here are the numbers for the latest COVID-19 statistics for the Nipissing Parry Sound catchment area. 140 tested on this day. That's a big number for this region. Cases still at 16. One less person is in hospital, so there's only one person in hospital right now in the entire catchment area. 14 of the 15 or 15 of the 16 cases, check that, have been resolved. Well, that glitch aside, we do hear now from the Premier and Nipissing MPP Vic Fideli about today's news event dealing with COVID-19 and possibly reopening the economy.
We recognize the immense toll the outbreak is taking on all business owners and workers. Our methodical approach will allow us to make sure we keep everyone safe as we get our economy going again. The same cooperation and leadership we saw in homes, communities, and in businesses that have helped flatten the curve will help us get our economy back into high gear. Importantly, the framework announced today by the Ontario Jobs and Recovery Committee includes an outreach strategy. The government and members of provincial parliament will consult with key sectors and all regions to assess the impact of COVID-19 and include their input in our plan to move forward. There is lots of work to do, but together we can ensure our economy will resurface stronger and more dynamic. We will continue to lead as the economic engine of our nation and as a province who bands together to take care of one another during times of need.
This framework is a roadmap. It will guide our collective decision-making. It lays out the threshold we need to hit, the targets we need to work towards. Number 1, virus spread and containment. Number 2, health system capacity. Number 3, public health system capacity. And number 4, incident tracking capacity.
City Police handed out their first ticket in regards to a local violation of the COVID-19 related laws involving, of course, social distancing and in this case visiting public parks. Not a cheap ticket, $880 when all is said and done. But John SCHULTZ of the service says he can't say a lot about this case because it's still before the court, but he says the message remains clear.
This individual was in a recreational area using the equipment. You're not allowed. You're allowed to pass through it. You're allowed to pass through it on the trails, the paths. This hasn't totally shut down our ability to exercise in the community. However, the equipment isn't cleaned on a consistent basis. That's why you're not allowed to use any of the recreational facilities. You're not allowed to use picnic tables. You're not allowed to sit down on the benches. The allegation in this charge is that there was a violation of that. Our officers responded to a call. When they got there, they investigated it. There's been a lot of warnings issued, and in this case, it's up to the discretion of the officer, and the officer that attended the scene at this point chose to write a ticket.
What is the message going forward? Obviously, it seems pretty obvious. Don't go into these places and do those things.
And that's the message is, yeah, you can go out and you can go for a walk, but you have to maintain your social distancing. That's the healthy option. But as well, there's certain limitations on where you can go and what we can do until this pandemic finally lifts. And the police are in charge of ensuring that this emergency laws that have been put into effect, we enforce them. So we have to have, we want to give out warnings, but it's officers' discretion as to warning or charges, just like a speeding violations, for instance.
You have police on bikes now. What exactly are they embarking on?
So this is part of what our chief wants to do is return to the summer bike patrols. So today we've got a number of officers that are being trained by our training officers so that they are up to snuff on what the legislation is when it comes to enforcing for bike laws, but also what paths there are available in the city. And they'll be out this summer doing patrols on bicycles, 2 at a time, and they'll be biking throughout our community today and tomorrow.
What are the positive aspects to having bike police out there?
Well, bike police it creates more interaction with the community. So, for instance, if you're biking downtown or if you're down in Ferris at the mall, it gives them the ability to go up, walk along the sidewalk and talk to the people and make connection with them. It also allows us to patrol in areas that aren't normally being patrolled. You can't take a police car down some of the back paths, whereas our officers are using bicycles and they'll be able to access those walkways.
Just before 10 in the morning on Saturday, fire crews from all three stations responded to a confirmed structure fire at 979 Morin Street. When firefighting personnel arrived on scene, they encountered a significant fire in the basement of this single-family home. There was no one living in the home at the time of the blaze because the home was undergoing significant renovations. Firefighters on scene quickly and were able to successfully extinguish the fire without any incident, no injuries. The home did incur significant fire and smoke damage. The cause of the fire remains under investigation, but the deputy fire chief says it may be related to the renovation work that was being completed. When we come back, more COVID-19 related stories, and we'll have much more as well beyond that after this. Welcome back, everybody. The damage to businesses of all kinds really has been palpable during the COVID-19 pandemic, and it's not going away anytime soon. However, grocery stores remain open, and for many, business has been booming. You can count on Stuart Parker of Independent Grocers to be, well, blunt when it comes to assessing how his business operation has changed in the era of COVID-19.
You know what? Definitely a surge in pandemonium and panic for sure. I mean, with that, you know, we've had a surge in sales for sure. So much has changed, Greg. I mean, you know, from limiting customers coming through the store, kind of seeing this build, you know, I think it's 5 or 6 weeks ago now, into what it is today. You know, a ton has changed. You can see, you know, arrows on the floor and limiting 50 customers at a time. Some of our side departments have all but closed. I mean, they've all but stopped, and then some other departments, you know, are obviously really taken off, really grown 4 and 5 times. Dry grocery, meat, produce. I think people are. I mean, I don't think people are eating at home. You know, with restaurants unfortunately being closed, people are eating at home. You know, short of the takeout piece. So
another piece that's very important is, can supply meet demand?
It's better now. It's better now than it was. The first few weeks was rough. I mean, being in the business going on 30 years, you know, to see shelf conditions the way they were, and it's completely out of your power. It's something it's not easy to kind of work through, right? When you're dealing with customers and employees. I don't want to say panicked. My staff did an amazing job, but the public was kind of panicked. People were unsure. And then when you come in and you see the conditions of the shelves, trucks 3 and 4 and 5 days behind, that just added to an already panicked situation.
So does that situation of panic extend to new shopping habits?
100%, yeah. I mean, the shifts in business, like behind you, my salad bar has, we've scaled back our core listing, meaning, we're only making 10 items because the customers have responded differently to certain things. Our hot food behind us here, it's really cut back. It's how we're handling things differently from a customer, hands-on. Obviously, we're washing our hands every 20 minutes, every half hour, at max. Besides that, side departments that have softened, they've shifted over into our online. Our online has exploded. I mean, people don't want to come into the store for obvious reasons. Even though the store, with 50 people in here, it's quite safe with the social distancing measures in place. So any of the side departments that have slowed down, we've channeled that labor over into our online, trying to fill the demand there. You go on the app, you do your full grocery basket, you pick a time slot. Right now we're almost 2 weeks behind. That's the demand. So the orders are about 2 weeks behind. So we're working on increasing those windows to meet that demand. That business has about tripled.
The clean, green, beautiful movement is back despite some necessary changes to abide by because of the health concerns during the coronavirus pandemic. Anti-litter mastermind, Clark wrote that, Harriet Madigan is the woman behind the plan.
Be safe, be kind, have fun, wear gloves, wear a mask, wear glasses, carry a grip and grab stick if you can, you can afford to pick one up. They're awesome. They save your back and they save time, and the kids just love to use them, and so do the adults too.
Now, clean, green, beautiful bags are 100% compost. So how do people get a handle of these bags? Where do they go?
Well, because of COVID-19, we don't have any storefronts for the bags. So we have a delivery team, believe it or not. Myself right now, and Joanne Brusso, our counselor, is getting, I don't know if the right words are getting down and getting dirty, but she's getting in there and helping us and taking her team with her when she does go, but always social distancing.
Who do people contact if they want to get a hold of some bags and start picking up in their own neighborhood?
They're going to contact Clean Green Beautiful on Facebook, Instagram, and on our website, of course. Yeah.
And any other messages to folks kind of wanting to help but needing to follow COVID procedure?
Well, I'd like to say stay tuned, because we're launching the first week in May, a formal launch. And then we're going to have something called the Neighborhood Challenge, as I mentioned. And it'll be one day, a community-wide blitz to clean up the whole city. And we're hoping there's going to be roving reporters wandering around the neighborhoods and seeing what people are doing, as long as they're physically distancing.
Okay, enough of that hat or toque or whatever it is. Toques tie into weather. We're going to do a break. Smart guy in the other room will have weather right after this.
Weather is brought to you by Canadore College. Great things happen here.
It is certainly a beautiful, sunny Monday. Welcome back to Cogeco News. I'm Clark Heipel here on Connaught Avenue. I am here for your 5-day weather forecast brought to you by Canadore College. Also here to urge you to donate to the fight against cancer at cancer.ca, as April is Daffodil Month. Well, it's been just over a week since the devastating shootings in Nova Scotia. Longtime North Bay residents and natives of Nova Scotia, Chuck and Irma Kelly, have erected a beautiful tribute to the lives lost in those shootings, and it is on display in their front yard on Connaught Avenue. That will be our backdrop for the 5-day weather forecast brought to you by Canadore College. Heading overnight on this Monday night, a low of +3. The clouds move in, and the clouds will be around for the rest of the week. On Tuesday, the 28th of April, that is the day of mourning in the province of Ontario, we have a high of 9 and a low of +4 as we remember those who lost their lives in the workplace on Tuesday. On Wednesday, the 29th of April, high 12, low 7, clouds and a significant chance of rain. Thursday now, the last day of April, more rain. April showers brings May flowers, I believe that's the saying. High 12, low 6. And on Friday, the 1st of May, high 16, low 4, clouds, 70% chance of showers. And turning the page back to the almanac, it was a beautiful Sunday. We had a high of 14 and a low of 2 below, and the normals are pretty close to that. 14 for the high, 2 above for the low, the normal high and low. Well, there you have it. There is your 5-day forecast. Better enjoy this Monday evening. If you're checking out the sunset, remember to social distance because rain is on the way for the rest of the week. Let's head to a very quick break. Greg Esterbrooks will have your sportscast right after this very short break.
Sports is brought to you by Tag Construction for all your construction needs.
Business continues to march on for the North Bay Battalion with the benefit or without the benefit of an orientation camp, but of course there are 20 teams across the O coping with that, 60 across junior hockey in general. The battalion been signing their top draft picks though of late. Perhaps more signings of previous years' high draft picks could also be on the way. Joining us via Zoom is North Bay GM Adam Dennis.
Very high on those first 3 guys, and we wanted to show them the excitement by rewarding them with those standard player agreements, and we're excited to get them in. From my standpoint, what's changed a little bit is instead of orientation camp now, we've been hosting them on webinars. So it's been a different process, but it's been a nice way that given the technology that we do have, we still have that opportunity to get in touch with prospects. I know our coaches have been talking to our current team, and there's just still tons of planning that's going on, and that hasn't changed.
You were busy doing webinars. I'm assuming with every draft choice, you have a certain set of issues to deal with every specific draft choice, or is it different for the high picks and the lower picks?
Well, I think expectations. We wanted to make sure that we did every single one individually because there's a lot of stuff that needs to be talked about. So first of all, there's about 30, 45 minutes about us just talking about the program, about what to expect, things that they would see in the orientation camp. The biggest thing for the newer players would be talking about next season. Trying to give some forecasting on where people are going to play because it's an important time and it's a different time in this world that we're living in right now because there's a lot of uncertainty. So teams don't know where they're going to be. So the biggest issue has been finding teams for our prospects to be playing next year.
Will you have the same farm team that you had last year in Pembroke?
Yeah, we've had some discussions with Pembroke, and it looks like there will be a couple guys going down there again.
In this scenario, you drafted a kid first overall named Ty Nelson. We ran a video of a goal he scored last week, which was rather spectacular. I mean, this year he'll be playing, if the season starts this year, against obviously older and bigger guys, but this kid, you have high hopes he's going to step in and make big plays from the get-go.
Yeah, and he's a really high character kid. I think you're going to find a real hard time finding somebody that works harder than Ty Nelson. I can tell you he's been putting in the work right now. There's nothing that he doesn't want to take on, and he's up for the challenge.
Finally tonight, a special celebration for a Castleholm resident who hit the big 100 during the pandemic. Let's take a look.
Here we are today, celebrating Jean's 100th birthday.
Best part, Gene's keeping time with that. Thank you for watching Cogeco News on Monday. Mr. Clark Heupel will be sitting in the big chair on Tuesday. Hope to see you then live at 5.